Good evening, traders. This is Christian Farmer at Starbuck Trade Group, and this is your end of day stock market recap for Thursday, January 8th. So I've been off a little bit and just kind of coming back into the swing of things with a full day today of trading. Probably my first of since towards the end of last week. So in any event, doing an end of day video today. We'll try to continue to do these more frequently. I'm going to go through the price action pretty quickly, and I'll also mention the events for tomorrow. But we're still seeing, it seems like on a day-to-day basis, we're seeing just heavy rotations. One group will basically look really good for a day. Another day they see a little bit of profit taking, and then there's a nice move for another group. So it seems like that's kind of been what we've been getting, a pretty decent market overall. You could see at this point the performance month to date, and you could see what's leading right now. SPYs are, just to kind of go through for top to bottom here, but SPY is up, and I'm going to just put this so that you can see the spreadsheet here. SPY was up 1%. Mid caps and small caps are the ones that are really performing. Small caps, you're going to hear probably me talk about that a couple times in today's video, but that's up 5%. Take a look at also the ARC Innovation and IBD 50. Both of these have been excelling. They're very close to what the small caps are doing. They're up over 4%. Growth and value. Growth, which is going to contain a lot of large cap growth, is essentially flat, and value is up 2.4%. Also, one more thing that kind of stands out right now is the difference between, or just looking at the difference between the small and the large cap stuff, right? So, for instance, where you're seeing growth is in the small cap growth category. Sorry, I can't speak today. Small cap growth category versus look at the large cap growth category. I mean, one is flat, one is up 5%. So that's where the growth is really coming from so far this year. And again, I find that very notable, and it's something that I talked about when. It may have been the last video that I've done, or at least the last full day that I worked, was just talking about how I thought that the mega cap names, what everybody likes to call is your FANG or your Magnificent Seven names, just weren't going to be it this year. And I think that also kind of carries to, not only those names, but just your big mega cap names are the ones that have done, and there's nothing wrong with those names. It's just the fact that they're kind of mature at this point, and there's just better opportunities. So I think that also kind of coincides a little bit with what AI is doing. I think that you're going to see some opportunities in AI, but I think coming off a year where, up until September of last year, AI was the big trend, but they really made some big advances. So, all right, let's talk about what did perform today. So before I get to those individual names, I do want to review the sectors, because I probably haven't done that with you and for a while. But it's basically, there's a couple things that I tend to look at when we start the month like this. So SPY, we're sitting here and we're above the value area for the month. We also came back in today and held the 5-day moving average. So once we broke this, I put on a long S&P trade. I really haven't done much with that trade, and I'll kind of just sit long, because I think it's important to have an index position on, because of the rotations that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. You could really get them wrong on a day, for example, like if you looked what SanDisk did today and what some of the optical names did today, the memory names, which very, very strong, but they were down huge today. So if you happen to just catch the wrong day, or you don't take enough profits when they do go up, a day like today can really sting if you're in those names, and which is tough, because the average stock did quite well today. The RSP, which is the same stocks that are in the S&P 500, outperformed, and they were almost up 1% today. So that's what I see for the SPY chart. I think the breakout is still alive here, and that's my level for the month is, call it 686. That's what I see here. Since I just mentioned RSP, you can kind of see, and this is still whippy. Like the small caps uh, underperformed yesterday, but they cranked right back up here and they're above the 5-day moving average. So again, it's a little bit different on a day-to-day basis. Looking at the Qs is where you kind of have a little bit of an issue right now. They had they had some nice movement for a couple days, but and again, it's you have to think about what's in the Qs. It's very top heavy. Your Magnificent Seven names, but here's your level to watch: 620, 625.17, and that was a rejection. And I think we also had a rejection. I thought of maybe not. I thought a VPOC was taken out here, but there is one up here. But for now, I like my view is, my fundamental view coincides with what you're seeing here in the chart. And I like that. For me, the technicals are always there for me to back up a view. And I know when the technicals do something different than what I was looking for, then I have something wrong in my view. For now, the Qs are telling me exactly what I think is happening here. And they're tired. I think a lot of those big names, maybe until we see earnings reports from them, they're just not going to maybe show that leadership. And you could see the Qs have not made a new high since the beginning of November. So I'm picking on the Qs. I always do that. Please don't confuse me with being really negative about the Qs, but I will get more positive when I see better price action. And the only thing that I like out of those big, I don't want to say the only thing because Amazon's been working well too, but I've been long Google for a while. I was long Google in here, and then I added it back in here. And you have to be patient with this. But again, I don't mind having a couple slower movers with some faster names. And here's Amazon. Amazon's doing quite well. Now, I mentioned I would bring up tomorrow's events. Before I bring up tomorrow's events, let me just show you IWM, which is at the only one that's at a new high, and that made a very nice move today. Also, your mid caps have really started to kind of perk up at the end of the year after underperforming for a good portion. But that's what's going on there. And the last chart that I'll show out of this group, and then we'll move on, is the IWM versus Qs. Now, I'm going to bring up the weekly chart here. We've got one more day to go, but you could see we've had a couple of times where this looks like it was going to turn the corner, and then it kind of evaporated a bit. Once in here, why it got over when it got over its 50-day moving average, and then it retreated. So this is another situation, and you could also see like this is the value area for the year, which is I think important in this relationship. So I would watch 0.41. Again, this is putting IWM in the numerator, Qs in the denominator. So let's talk a little bit about tomorrow, because I think one of the things that was really moving today was some of the retail names. This is something that we talked about in the beginning of the day, which could outperform because they're pricing in the possibility that the Trump's tariffs, I think what they may rule is that they're unconstitutional. Now, I don't know really much about if that's going to be overturned or rolled back. Unconstitutional could mean a lot of different things, but I think some of the companies that have been under the most pressure are probably your retail companies, and we did see a lot of option positioning in things like XRT and things like I think the home builders have something to do with that too. Also, Trump came out and made an announcement yesterday about not allowing big institutional ownership of single family houses. So you kind of have a double catalyst here because there's a lot of things that get tariffed when building a home. But look at what Home Depot did today. Right, very nice move. Let's see if Home Depot could turn the corner. Lowe's took out a VPOC up here. Again, I don't like to be adding trades on VPOC takeouts. That's usually where there's some supply. But yeah, I mean, these things are beginning to move. Now, you have to always remember one of the oldest Wall Street sayings out there. Buy the rumor and sell the news. So today felt like buying the rumor of that could be happening. So we'll watch for follow through. And I would not, whatever there's a catalyst like this. I tend to want to buy names that I would like anyway, not just because, like, I'm not just going to buy something because of that particular situation. If I know it's a good company, and let's say if it doesn't get announced, that there's no announcement tomorrow and some names sell off, well, I'd rather be in a name like TGX. So that's how I always think whenever I'm doing this type of situation, is that when I think that there's a catalyst, I'll still gravitate towards where I think the best opportunity is, right? And that would be something like a TGX. All right. So that's what we have for tomorrow. Plus, we have a jobs report for tomorrow as well. I will just bring up the what this looks like, and then maybe we'll just go over a couple more names before I wrap up this video. Like I said, I don't want to make this a long video, but here you go. They're only looking for 70,000. That's it. Change in private payroll 75,000. I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with the holidays. Maybe there's some seasonality there, but that's a pretty light report that they're looking for. I would also pay attention to the average hourly earnings. That's another gauge of inflation. So that'll be out tomorrow, and then we'll also get University of Michigan sentiment numbers tomorrow. So just a heads up there. So I talked a lot about how growth is outperforming, and here's a couple names that I've been looking at in the growth space and been long. This is VELO, which has been acting really well. And I did take another target in this name as it took out a VPOC up here. And it actually rallied back quite nicely. But I took a target right here at 2050 today. So again, this is a more speculative name, as a lot of small cap names are. Another name too that I've been paying attention to is a smaller cap name called Four Factor, which is in the semi space. They do a lot of different things, but this acted really well today. All right, so those are a couple names. I mentioned Google. I think also, like, one other thing, I'm going to bring up BE Energy. This is a name that I had in my Substack yesterday as a name that you could go long. The way that I spelled it out was you can go long versus 105, right? Which is price got above here and had a nice move, but it did not close on the highs today. But so this is kind of just where I just wanted to insert this one other thing about the price action recently, is that you're getting these opportunities where things really move, and you could lock in some profits, right? And I think looking at the SanDisk chart, kind of also kind of shows a little bit of that too, where hey, this name really moved, huge move, but it gave it back. Now it closed nicely off the lows today. Like, in Western Digital is another name, but Western Digital gave back that whole green candle. Now it's holding that support 184.87. I also had that in my midday note as well. I think you could find that if I bring this up here. Right, so there's the link on the bottom of the screen there, but that's where you can find our midday note, where you could look for some trade ideas. And but yeah, that's something that I would be paying attention to, is when these names fall back like this, if support is holding. But the point is that you're getting a lot of opportunities, you're getting a lot of market moves. And again, it's okay, in my opinion, with the way that this market is rotating around, to take a good portion of that money off the table. I did that the other day with Exxon. Now Exxon looked pretty good today, and crude made a nice move today. But yeah, sure thing is, I sold this pre-market the other day, and again, it gives you the flexibility. You could kind of look and see, just like Western Digital did, which is a completely different situation. This thing broke above, checked right back into the top of the value area, and then got going again today. So if you can have that dry powder where you're selling much higher, and if you still like the name, as I said with not Western Digital, but what I said with Exxon, it's like, okay, I took off the majority of my trade on this big spike higher, still own it, but now I did not add to it. But I can certainly do that now because it's still cheaper, even though with a big nice move today of 3.7%, I could still add cheaper than what than I last sold. So, that's what is, until we kind of settle in a little bit more into January and into this year of 2026. I think it's important to do that. Now we're going to start earnings season right away too. Um, so that's going to dictate some moves too. And I think that always earnings season is outside of your macro effects is going to dictate where the market moves next. So I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and I will see you tomorrow. Again, I think Bloomberg said that tariff uh, ruling may come out as early as 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. And of course, you have the jobs numbers